Welcome to Plan Point. I'm Jess Oren. Our goal in this segment will be to teach you how to prepare your own city-ready pool plan. I want to encourage you, it's a lot easier than you might think. So let's get started. Before we begin laying out the paper and sharpening our pencils, we need to cover some beginning steps to confirm. First is to establish elevations within the space that you plan to build your pool. By using a simple screwdriver and a line of string, tape measure, and a $2 line level, elevations are easily determined. Download the PDF drawing from your members' homepage, as this diagram will show you in detail how this process is performed to get this information. So let's take a few moments and review some completed swimming pool designs and the elevations we drew for the site conditions of some of our other clients. Our goal is an understanding for you to determine what portion of your swimming pool's bond beam will require elevated lifts to accommodate your site conditions. So let's review the three most common types of site conditions. We have the flat lot, the upslope, and the downslope. Typically, it's good to use upside down paint and paint a line in the dirt or the grass where you think the rise might be before building your swimming pool. Make a mark in the lawn or the dirt and use a line level pulled from the back of the lot and your line string as indicated in the PDF download from your members area, and measure using the tape, measure from the line down to indicate these points and the elevation changes, and make a note on the ground what the difference is. That will give you an indication of where to put a step. But let's say the indication on the ground is only a difference of 3 inches. You would be okay to go ahead and make that a +6 rise, because each raise that you make in your swimming pool must be in a 6-inch increment. So in this photograph, we see the excavation of a +12 raised bond beam into a 2-to-1 upslope. Laying out a swimming pool against a 2-to-1 upslope, the layout would be that you would go into the slope 2 feet with a 1-foot rise. Here we see the form board just above the grade. At the top of this form is where the gunite will finish. This will end up finishing above that lowest grade at the toe of the slope, about 6 inches above that grade. This will allow the water to drain down the slope against the back of the pool and then away to drainage. So this is typically what you would want to do in setting up a +12 at the base of a toe of a 2-to-1 upslope. In this photograph, we see our spa is elevated 12 inches. Notice the step before it, off to the side in a more normal design location, but off to the right we see another step behind the spa. The elevated points for steps are determined based upon where the grade is that needs to be held back. Typically in design, you want the elevated step to be viewed from the front of the pool, but this picture shows that it is not mandatory. So again, we want to take our site conditions that we have and we want to draw a swimming pool, and then we want to note where around the pool the site dictates the elevation. And in this case, at that point, the site dictated another elevated raise. So again, with this swimming pool, we look across to the back of the wall as an indicator to the eye line how the grade in this particular lot will go. So we see to the far left, we see a table. Next to that, we see a small little wall. That little wall holds back all the grade that's going to be beyond that point to the pool site area, allowing us to give 15 to 17 feet of flat area for tables and chairs. But then as we move to the photograph right, closer to the home, we find that the elevation drops. So we need to accommodate that with the steps, as indicated earlier. Follow the wall and also a line string to determine those elevation changes. So here we see another example of a plus 12 raised bond beam just inside the toe of a 2-to-1 upslope. Just behind that is a 24-inch raised rock wall to hold back grade. This will also allow drainage to move away from the swimming pool's bond beam, giving a flat area just in front of the wall to plant material. In this circumstance, want to make sure that we call out that these plant items just behind the raised bond beam are not big, large trees. You want to keep your large trees with large root patterns far enough behind the pool as not to grow into the plumbing or the pool wall. In reviewing this photograph, we see that the raised bond beam goes from left to right, but if we look behind the grade of the bond beam to the right, we see that the grade is higher. In this lot's condition, it had a 4-foot berm just at the base of that block wall. The grade drastically came down. It was just a 4-foot by 4-foot berm. In this condition, we couldn't just do a bond beam over there. I guess we could with steps, but it made more sense to equal out the swimming pool in its design. So therefore, the bond beam was carried over in front of the wooden fence to stay focused on a design of a swimming pool rather than just utilizing the raised bond beam for grade only. And this is okay. The only thing is at the back side of the raised bond beam, between that wooden fence and the bond beam, the dirt could not be filled and stacked up against the wooden fence. So you would want to plant taller material over there. But as you can see, it works. The elevation in the center, I believe, is 30 inches. It allows for a dramatic look for a sheer descent coming out of the wall. So there are circumstances where you can use an elevation when you're not just containing grade. And this picture shows that. Here we see a 30-inch raised bond beam against the back wall, and this is directly against the wall to provide for a planter between the bond beam of the pool and the wall. And this is okay. This is right up against the wall. There won't be any structural problems at all. And it gives a great look to the pool. Backdrop for a planter, some nice flowers. But this is a dramatic look for a nice wide sheer descent waterfall. Here in this dramatic shot of a 2-to-1 upslope, we see, to maximize this yard, the need for a 5 or a 6 foot high retaining wall deep into the slope, but did maximize the space. If you look to the fence line where the fence, wooden fence, drops down the slope and meets the block wall there, you also see a column. Well, this column is at the base or the toe of slope. The top of a slope is called the top of slope, the base, the toe. So here we see a 3-foot column at the toe, and we see the angled wall traveling back into the 2-to-1 upslope, containing that grade for a plus 12 elevated spa. That section maximized the space within the backyard and increased the size of this yard by approximately 17 feet.